Warframe is a massive game and there is so much to do. There are plenty of different game modes, missions, frames, and weapons to choose from, especially from a new or returning player's perspective, and you are bound to be confused at some point in time. I have played Warframe for almost 6 years, and in that time I have made a ton of mistakes, and learned a lot of valuable information that would have helped me out big time when I first started playing. What's going on, guys? It's Swimzyy here, and in today's video I will be going over 10 mistakes that I have made while playing Warframe. The first mistake that I have made is forgetting about the loadout tab in the navigation screen. This is one of the newest additions to Warframe that saves time and is a nice quality of life feature that I completely forget about. Before this feature was added, we would all have to back out of the navigation screen and move back to the arsenal to change the weapons and frames that we wanted to use. Now with this feature, we can swap any weapon, Warframe or companion seamlessly, and it is very helpful to all players. The second mistake I have made involves a feature that I didn't know about when I first started diving deep into Warframe. This feature allows you to see the materials that can be gathered on all of the planets. Warframe can be confusing very early on, and one of the biggest struggles I had personally was finding the materials to build the weapons and frames. On console, if you press the left stick in, it will show you all of the materials that can be found or dropped by enemies on that specific planet. This can be very useful early on since it can be difficult to find where the materials you need are located. With this feature, you can also deploy an extractor to the planet of your choice and gather resources passively. The best part is that you can log out or switch to another game and the extractor will still farm for materials. I rarely use this feature now, but back when I first started, this would have helped me out big time. So if you're a new player, I recommend that you try this feature out so you don't have that much of a hard time. The third mistake that I have made was not using the relay blessing feature as often as I should have. The True Master's font can only be used by a player who has reached Mastery rank 30, and it can only be used once per day. If you're not Mastery rank 30 but are in the same relay as someone who is, they can activate a blessing that affects everyone who is currently in the relay, with one of 6 blessings that last for 3 hours. All of these blessings are great, but the affinity, credit, and resource drop chance definitely shine compared to the damage, health, and shield blessings. I would suggest that before going to Hydron to level your weapons and frames, don't make the same mistake I did. Chill in any relay of your choice. You are bound to get at least one of these blessings. The fourth mistake I've made while playing Warframe is one of the biggest mistakes that I think I've ever made, and that was selling quest items and blueprints for credits. Some blueprints can only be acquired through quests, and can be a pain to get a hold of if you sell them. If you sell these blueprints, then you can get them back at Cephalon Samaris using Samaris standing, but that can be a painful process. Most of these blueprints and items cost between 50,000 to 100,000 standing or more to buy back, so don't sell these blueprints, hold on to them until you can use them. The fifth mistake I and many other people used to make was selling duplicate mods for credits. Endo is essential when ranking up mods, so you want to get as much Endo as possible. And when selecting your duplicate mods, you have a choice between selling them for credits or Endo. You might be tempted to choose the credits over the Endo, but trust me, the better option is the Endo. And when it comes to I-10 sculptures, you might be tempted to sell the I-10 cyan and amber stars on their own. It is better to save those stars for sculptures to maximize your Endo gain. You can find these sculptures randomly or in missions by completing the weekly I-10 hunt from Maru on Mars. The sixth mistake on this list is a very big mistake that I used to make. This was not using my full daily standing limit with every syndicate. There are a total of 17 syndicates in the game, and each syndicate has a daily limit. You can either start syndicate missions in the regular star chart or bounties on either one of the open worlds to gain standing with that specific syndicate. Another thing to note is that the higher your mastery rank is, the higher your standing limit will be per day. Maxing these syndicates took longer than they should have since I did not make the most out of these limits. I would suggest that you try to at least use as much of your daily standing limit as possible so that you can progress through the ranks and unlock some pretty cool items and accessories. The seventh mistake I have made was not learning about every damage type in the game. Every element and elemental combo that you can create while modding gives different benefits, and with the new status rework, it can be very confusing. For example, if you apply a heat mod and hover over the heat icon on the left hand side, it will show you the pros and cons to using that element against the different types of factions in the game. Heat, for example, does 1.5 times the amount of damage to the infested, but 0.5 times to the Kuva Grineer. You can also combine 2 elements to create an elemental combo. Let's say I combine heat and electricity. Now we deal radiation damage, and if I hover over the radiation icon on the left hand side, we now deal 1.5 times damage to both the Sentient and Murmur factions, while dealing 0.5 damage to the Orokin. Knowing which elements perform better against which factions will be a massive help, and since there are a ton of different factions in the game, each element can kill certain factions quicker than others. Don't make the same mistake I made. Familiarize yourself with every type of damage in the game. The 8th mistake I made was trying to get all of the prime weapons as quick as possible. When it comes to prime variants of warframes and weapons, they are similar to the standard counterpart, but they do have their differences. Primed warframes generally come with a slight buff to health, armor, or shields, while also having more sprint speed and energy. Primes also have a different look compared to the normal frames, which in most cases makes the frames look better visually, but they can be very expensive and extremely hard to obtain. Prime weapons are pretty much the same as primed warframes, but instead of the increased health and shields, they have a slight increase in stats like critical chance, status chance, damage, etc., and can also be extremely expensive. Since you can only get prime parts and relics, it can take a while to get the parts you are looking for, and it doesn't help when the alternatives are haggling in a free market where players can choose their own prices, or just straight up purchasing them with real money. No, I'm not saying just to farm for the primes and leave the standard versions alone. I would suggest that you try out the base warframes and weapons first, then work your way up to getting the primes. Even though the primes are a little bit better and look cooler, doesn't mean that you should rush to get them like I did. Every weapon, warframe, and companion, no matter the variant, gives mastery XP, so level anything and everything you can get your hands on so you can slowly work on getting the primes. The 9th mistake I made was a big one. I forgot that the Helminth segment exists. The Helminth system is not a new player friendly feature. This system will take some time to get a hold of, but when you get it, it will be very useful in switching up your builds, and it does add a refreshing touch to the game. You can obtain the Helminth segment from ranking up the Entrati Syndicate and purchasing it from Sun at the Necrolist on Deimos. While ranking up the Helminth's Metamorphosis, you can unlock a wide range of unique abilities. You also have the option to subsume a non-primed warframe to gain a set ability from that warframe, but you do lose access to that warframe in the process. Being able to mix and match different warframe abilities with other frames gives the game a whole new aspect that I did not use until recently, and I am regretting it now. You have access to some useful abilities like Perspicacity, which instantly hacks any panel, perfect for Wukong and spy missions. There is also an additional segment you can purchase from Sun that allows invigorations to be casted on certain warframes that last for 7 days. After 10 invigorations, you can choose to apply a custom invigoration to any warframe you desire, which is a nice addition that I have not made the best use of. I suggest that as soon as you unlock this Helminth segment for your Orbiter, you should maximize your use with it. The last mistake I made was blitzing through the game. As I was progressing through what the game had to offer, I would always look at what weapons and frames my friend was using. I noticed that he was using a weapon called the Archiplasmor. As soon as I saw what that weapon could do, I immediately started rushing through leveling weapons and warframes to reach MR10 and build it. This continued on until I eventually passed his mastery rank, and now I have everything in the game. I probably regret this mistake the most, since now I have everything and can deal insane damage. I got impatient and rushed ahead, and now I can't get that feeling of excitement back. Warframe is a marathon, not a sprint. There is so much that this game offers, so just relax, take some time, and don't rush through like I did. Alrighty guys, so that is 10 mistakes that I have made while playing Warframe. I hope you have enjoyed. If you did, then please consider liking the video, sharing it around with your friends, and subscribe. Also, if you have made any of the mistakes on this list, or have made any other mistakes that weren't on this list, then please let me know down below in the comments. That being said, thank you all so much for watching. It's been Swim, guys. Later.